Get the rock-solid support you need with an integrated jumbo-size wrist rest. An innovative smudge-proof surface gives you a sleek, glossy look with no fingerprints left behind. Over 500 programmable macros and 3 thumbster keys. Fueled by up to 2 32-bit ARM Cortex processors and a powerful 2 megabytes of flash memory. The Rocket Rios Mechanical Gaming Keyboard Series.
Starladder falls! Lakewood are doing it! They're gonna take! He's gonna bring down Burning! Alone with a double kill! Dropping fast! Monopoint's there! He's still alive! Wait, 2 seconds left! He's got 1 step! He's got a second! He's taking it out! Oh my god! On 3! They're all dead!
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We had a little spoiler there. We have some minor issues with the Starladder production software to get things started, and my apologies for the little spoiler there. I'm Zyori. Starladder Season 10 is among us. We're getting launched off with the SEA portion today. We're here with Day 1. I'm being joined remotely by Blaze, at least for the first few days of coverage. Blaze, my man, what's the good word today?
Looking good, man. I mean, these two teams are, I would say, the best to start off a tournament as prestigious as this, opening up with Arrow versus Titan. That's not a bad matchup at all, and everybody's running at essentially full strength. MTR is technically a stand-in, but since Arrow recently released Johnny from their roster, you wouldn't really expect them to have a permanent place for anyone, so I think that's probably their closest thing to a full roster. So everybody coming into this strong and looking to take some good wins here in this best of one round robin.
Yep, definitely. We've only got 3 games today. It's the same Starladder format you're used to, the group stage with a whole lot of best of ones for a whole lot of time. And for SEA, it's only 3 best of ones instead of 4, as there are less teams, and it is a little bit of a smaller bracket. The other sections get started in staggering intervals, but the beginning of September is when Starladder is really in full swing. And here we've got our beautiful Starladder overlays, and oh, the production value continues. I've got them on the wrong sides here. There we go. There we go. Titan, we're going to be on the Dire here, and Arrow Gaming on the Radiant. So, anyhow, let's talk about this draft a little bit. Arrow had first pick. They grabbed themselves the Razor as the Lycan, Doom, Void, and Brewmaster were banned out. Titan, they go ahead with their first pick Invoker. And, of course, there is Net Sand King straight away. Arrow, they'll respond with a second pick Centaur.
Yeah, pretty interesting here to see what they're going to do with the Invoker, especially in the first phase. They picking it up so actively. Obviously, Yamate and KOXY both have potential on the hero, but how they're going to build it, I'm inclined to say Exhort, because I already have the Shackle Shot and Burrow Strike disables, which enable it to just deal damage and, of course, net some earlier kills across the board. But, I mean, could be frustrated by things like defensive disruptions and stuff like that, so we'll have to keep an eye out on it. It's also pretty easy to gank if we do see Arrow Gaming kind of going for their signature early game movements where they put pressure out across the lanes. But this is a pick that I'm really excited about. The draft has sped up quite a bit, and now we're seeing not only the Wind Ranger, but this Visage pick coming into play. So it looks like a core Wind Ranger, and the Visage is going to be able to deal a lot of damage to the opposition.
Yep, Wind Ranger will probably be your Yamate hero slated for the mid lane. One of his, I think of Wind Ranger and Queen of Pain as his 2 kind of signature solo mid heroes that you don't see too often. I guess Blitz also does the solo mid Wind Ranger from time to time, but I'm excited to see it. Something Yamate can pull off quite well. The Visage is one we haven't seen a lot of. We've been casting a lot of SEA content recently, as it's been kind of the only thing going on following TI4. We saw Titan dominate in WEC. Pretty impressive display. And I think in all that coverage we did, Blaze, we didn't see a single Visage pick. So Titan's showing some of their diversity here.
Yeah, Extinct is an amazing Visage player, too. He has so much potential in this hero. I would say it's actually in his top 3 of heroes that he can just execute on to perfection. And it's a hero that you need to be able to execute on because there's so many different things that you can do at once. You have to micro the attacks of the familiars, the stuns of the familiars, all your spells, a lot of items like Medallion and Mechanism, trying to keep your teammates alive and just burst down a specific target. It's going to be very effective against a hero like Razor. It's kind of frustrating that you get hit by his passive every time you cast a spell, but even still, he's a target that needs to be focused down, and a good medallion and a combination of familiars should be able to do just that until the Eye of the Storm gets too big. After that, your familiars are kind of walking into a whirlwind, so you got to watch out for that. But overall, I think this is going to give them a lot of potential for early game dominance, and we'll have to see just how dominant it's going to be.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, we'll see how the rest of the draft settles down as we move into the final bands. Lifestealer was the 4th pick for Arrow to go with their Shadow Demon, Centaur, and Razor. One of the nice things about the Centaur Lifestealer, you have the delivery vehicle that we always talk about, the Infest Bombs, and Centaur is a hero that fits the bill. He likes to hop right into the action, especially once he gets the Blink Dagger, and if things go awry, Lifestealer gets the Stampede buff in most engagements like that, so they have the option to disengage if they just want to grab a kill and then try to make the escape. So I like the little bit of synergy they have there, and Shadow Demon Centaur, a nice little bit of synergy as well with the Disruption, makes for pretty easy hoof stomp double edge combos.
Yeah, I mean, that Soul Catcher with the double edge is absolutely absurd damage output as well. Like, a hero like Wind Ranger, she's really good at evading physical auto attacks, but she just gets bursted down hard by those spell casts. So Centaur gets in, might be able to 100 to 0 with a couple of points and Soul Catcher on top of that. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays itself out, if they're going to be able to get early blinks on her, or if they're going to be kind of shut down in the laning phase. Right now, I would have to say Titan have more to bring to the laning phase, but they're still pretty greedy. I mean, Sand King and Visage, they really do rely on the early Blink Dagger and a couple thousand gold on Visage as well to really get themselves rolling. They have the potential to go for like the First Blood and to really establish kill momentum, but it's going to be the Drow Ranger here that really hammers it home. Once you get level 6 on the Drow and the Visage, things are just going to be shattering left and right.
Yeah, this is a pocket strat we see out of Cloud9 quite frequently, or I guess we used to, as it were. And I was going to mention it earlier, Titan, I haven't seen them run a hell of a lot of Dro, but so much synergy between those two. The aura goes over to the familiars, so you can fly those bad daddies around, and they're hitting like Mack trucks cruising down the freeway, man. They are scary. So towers will be falling. I think that's for damn sure. If this Invoker goes Exort, as I reckon he will, they'll have those Forged Spirits on the field. He'll probably go Necronomicon, and once that mid-game comes around, the team fighting and tower pushing will commence. So I would expect Titan to be pretty darn aggressive coming up in this game.
Yeah. One thing we don't really get to talk about too much is this Wind Ranger potentially solo mid. Essentially, it acts as a Dragon Knight as far as your ability to leave the lane. If your skills that early Focus Fire and you just go ahead and try to roam and gank somewhere else, she can just take your tower right there and then. So getting an early tier 1 just via that alone, and then establishing dominance on the later towers with the familiars, with the Force Spirits, Arrow is really not going to have that much space to farm at all. They're going to have to really create it, and we'll see Arrow Gaming finalize their draft with this Enigma pick here. So I'm curious if they're actually going to have Mosin run this one. He does do a lot of jungle play, but there's a large amount of potential that it might rest on the stand-in as well.
Yeah, I worry about this Razor pick just a little bit here because we're already talking about how greedy it is with their 4 picks, and Enigma is a kind of a greedy support. Of course, he can farm very well if left unchecked in the jungle, but if Titan invade, maybe ward a couple of his camps, slow him up a little bit. Arrow could come up against that situation where they never really get the ball rolling because all of their heroes need so much damn farm to be super effective. You know, Razor needs to tank up with a mech a little bit, or if he doesn't go mech here, something else to get him tanked up. Enigma either needs a fast blink or a fast mech. Centaur needs a fast blink. Lifestealer needs everything. I don't know. If Arrow gets space, this will be damn scary, but if Titan are really aggressive and put the pressure on, things will get tough.
Yeah, it really does come down to those early wards and which camps do get blocked off, because otherwise I would actually say the lanes are pretty stable right now. You get Lifestealer Shadow Demon versus Ohio's Wind Ranger, and in that sense, like, you actually have a lot of kill potential against her. You wait till the Wind Run pops, then you disrupt, and you wait out pretty much the full duration of that ability so you can close the distance on her. But yeah, if you do have your jungle under control, then your Enigma's not really involved at all, and he's kind of at a loss for where he's going to find farm, and might even like be delayed in his levels, despite being one of the fastest jungle farmers in the game.
Yeah, that is definitely true. And as we see here, Titan already invading, and there could be an early skirmish here. Arrow, they want to contest. They'll go straight in. Disruption onto the Invoker to start it off. Out comes the Centaur looking for the hoof stomp, but out comes the Shackle, little latch. And the Centaur taking heavy damage. They'll drop the hammer, but the first blood comes out for Arrow. They'll bring down Ned as the Centaur falls. Now KYXY on the run. He goes down. It's a 2-for-1 swing. and Arrow, they come out swinging. A double kill on DDZ. Wow.
Yeah. And the sad thing is that's the best case scenario for Titan is like getting the shackle shot there to prevent the hoof stomp that was coming through and going in aggressively with their burrow strike. Unfortunately, they just don't have as much level 1 team fight. Like the soul assumption, you'll get one of those in a team fight from a Visage that doesn't go for any stats. As well, the Invoker essentially contributes to nothing to the team fight. Like he contributes auto attacks with Exort, and that's not that consequential since he has had recent nerfs in his base damage. So overall, one thing I want to highlight real quick is Mosin's decision making in that fight. Usually you say Enigma, okay, he has to go for a demonic conversion, he has to get those Eidolons out to farm up the jungle, and you can't choose anything else as a skill. But no, Mosin thinks outside the box, says, okay, there's 5 heroes that I'm going to hit with this Midnight Pulse, and he just drops it on down, certainly contributing to that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Very heads-up play from him. And Arrow knew they had that early skirmish advantage. They had no holds bars. As soon as they caught a whiff of Titan moving into their jungle, they went straight for it, disruption to start things off, and it was a close call to see who would get that bonus gold, but it's the Razor that came out way ahead. So now DDZ, he'll have a pretty easy time in lane already, level 2, slightly ahead of that of the Invoker, but more importantly, all that extra gold. He has boots out of the gate to go with his Wraithband and GG Tangos. Invoker actually picking up early boots as well, but KYXY may find himself struggling in the lane. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves now, Blaze, let's introduce some rosters here. On the Dire side, we've got Team Titan. Ohio will be off lane on the Wind Ranger, not the Yamate Wind Ranger I was thinking. KYXY solo mid on the Exort Invoker, and that'll give us a tri-lane in the safe lane. NWP, a.k.a. Yamate on the Position 1 Dro, Extinct on the Visage, and that leaves us with Net on his signature Sand King.
Yep. Looking over the side of Arrow, got him staring him in the face, is going to be Xiangzai's Centaur Warrunner on the off lane. Looking over at the mid, it is DDZ on that Boots Razor. Down on bottom now with his Eidolons available, Mosin is going to be farming it up on the Enigma. Then we do have the Shadow Demon and Lifestealer combo. That's going to be MTR as well as Lance, respectively. Going in, they get the open wounds up. Ohio waiting for the wind run. As soon as he wind runs, he's going to be disrupted, so he might as well not even cast it. It's the last possible second, but there's the disrupt, and this should be another kill.
Yeah, nice setup from MTR. Waited exactly as you called it. As soon as the wind run comes out, disruption lasts longer than that level 1 wind run, and it's an easy kill. Shadow Demon gets credit for it, but that pushes Arrow further in the lead now, 3-1. Up top, we'll see a little skirmish breakout about the 2-minute rune, but unfortunately for the Centaur and the Sand King, it will spawn bottom, and it is a double damage. Only the Radiant know it, though. They've got the ward coverage down here in the bottom lane. They did put down a sentry. I believe there was a dire ward here somewhere that they picked off. So Arrow winning the initial ward battle. Only one observer down for the dire, which is this Bad Daddy up on the high ground at the top room.
Yeah, and I think that Titan are really uncomfortable in this position here because Ohio doesn't feel safe to farm and get good experience. He's going to rotate towards the mid lane, see what he can do with just the DD rune and the Shackle Shot, but I really don't see that much kill potential unless they get really lucky with the Cold Snap timing triggers. But for now, it's just going to be them kind of dual laning, forcing back DDZ a little bit, limiting his CS, but he's still in the lead.
Yeah, it's actually tied up 8 CS apiece, but a Shackle flies through. It'll latch. Now the Cold Snap comes, but Mosin, he's right there. No point in Malefice yet. He's only level 3. We talked about that early Midnight Pulse, so his presence there, I guess, is threatening, but his damage output a little bit lackluster, especially with the Razor, as he doesn't have any crowd controls to lock him down inside the Midnight Pulse. KYXY, he'll take a Plasma Field on the retreat, and, well, he'll be stuck without regeneration here. Things looking okay for KYXY. He's keeping up in CS, actually a few ahead of the Razor now, but it is Strug City as Razor is topped off, and, well, KYXY is pretty far from it.
Yeah, exactly. KYXY is not going to go for a bottle or anything like this, so the Quaz regen with only 1 point in it, it's going to take a long time to bring him back up to where he needs to be comfortable in the CSing. So he won a very short-term victory in that CS, and over the next minute or two, he's going to fall very, very far behind. In fact, maybe even retreating all the way to the base, depriving the Invoker of much-needed experience. Yeah,
I see DDZ posturing so aggressively here. Even takes a tower shot as he dives it, and a few more on the retreat. It's a little unfortunate for him, but completely zones out the Invoker. KYXY says, all right, I'm going to cut my losses. I'll come back with full health, and then we'll reset this lane again. Have some free farm while you can get it, DDZ, because I'm coming back with your name on my bucket list. Let's check in on the position ones here. Lance as well as NWP farming in pretty much free farm heaven here. The Dro only a couple CS behind, but pretty comparable across the board. Item progression-wise, Lifestealer may choose this game for an early hand of Midas. Lance getting a lot of space here. Pulling up that gold up to about 1,300. He could right-click the phase boots, could go hand to Midas. Still a little early on to tell, but what do you think here, Blaze? Is this a Midas game?
I think that the mobility is actually more important than the Midas. Obviously, if he wants to go it, now's the best time for it. But the one thing about Drow Ranger is she's going to come online pretty quickly. Level 6, level 11, that's when she really jumps up on those agility levels with marksmanship. And closing the distance with like a phased drum build would make a lot more sense to me because you can eliminate that passive and just take out the threat entirely.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. And looking at this Titan roster, you know they're going to be pretty aggressive in the mid-game. They're giving Net a lot of space here. They haven't put any wards in the jungle that block camps, so it's fairly safe to assume Net will come online right around that 10-11 minute mark. When he picks up the Blink Dagger, he'll be around level 6, level 7, and that will be the time that Arrow group up and start putting on the aggression. If Lance opts for the Hand of Midas, that'll be the time when his Hand of Midas is just starting to break even, and he won't really be in fighting shape. But if he goes for the drums phase that you're talking about, he'll be at least in a position to lay in some right clicks. Arrow already rotating into this bottom lane. Mosin's here with level 3 Eidolons, and they'll do a lot of damage to this bottom tower from Titan. Glyph comes out right away, but unless Titan respond, pretty much right now this tower is certain to fall.
Radiant structures are fortified.
It's not negligible to mention that Drow does, okay, we're actually going to see some action here. The Sunstrike already popped off, but it looks like they're not going to close in on Ohio even with the Malefice available. But yeah, it's not negligible to mention that Drow does deal a lot of right-click damage of her own, so even solo, she's going to be chipping away at this tower quite considerably, but a quarter of a tower's HP compared to the entire thing is very, very different story. So obviously Arrow getting the better upper hand with this early Enigma momentum, and we'll see how they build from there. Presumably, they're going to just build up the Blink Dagger and Xiangzai, build up the mechanism on the Enigma, and that'll leave the Razor to go pretty much for whatever kind of durable and mobility items he wants.
Yeah, we may see him just go into a drums kind of a build, opting straight into the Ag Scepter. I don't know. It's actually pretty uncommon to see Razors not go for mech. So I'm actually curious what build DDZ will opt for here. He moves into the jungle, Invisibility Rune on. He finds Net and may just want to be patient here and block this stack before going for a kill, if he even goes for it. No detection on him, so it won't be easy to bring him down, but this is actually a bit of a victory here as it will slow down Net. Ooh.
Yep, it's going to be Xiangzai just barely getting out, but the Soul Assumption will actually finish him off, just barely enough in the charges. And he's actually going to go straight for the Visage since he knows he's a little bit vulnerable. The hero with not very much armor when that Gravekeeper's Cloak is negated, but it looks like this Invisibility Rune isn't going to actually accomplish too much, as going in here 1 versus 2, I don't see that much value in it, but he's going to try for it. Yamate even looking to TP away to the tier 1 just to get out of a difficult position. DDZ is something they're very afraid of right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yamate took max damage from that plasma field, so that's not a great way for him to start that engagement, as it were. So I see the temptation to TP back, but maybe a little unnecessary there. KYXY have his hands full as now Mosin rotates towards the mid lane, and while I'm looking at that, we'll miss a kill up top on the Centaur as Net rotates over. Connects with a Burrow Strike, and Visage is there with the follow-up damage.
He was just walking into wards there. That was a complete mistake on his part, unfortunately. But they're trying to create space up top by keeping the supports focused there, so the push can ensue here on the mid lane, but I don't think that's going to happen. The Centaur is just a little bit too vulnerable to that 3-spell combo, and we're going to see actually a pretty big clash, I believe, on this mid tower.
Yeah, even MTR rotating from the bottom lane. KYXY with a pretty good position here. He's trying to pull up gold for that Hand of Midas, so not in the best fighting shape, at least has some phase boots, though, so not completely vulnerable. Before we look at that mid lane, worth mentioning that Lance did go for a Hand of Midas. He had a pretty good timing on it following that tower and has now moved into phase boots, but he went for that farm accelerator rather than the early fighting build that we were just mentioning. Mid-tier 1 taking heavy damage. Mosin clicking away, but now Titan ready to respond. Ohio rotating over on the Wind Ranger, and they will repel the push, but this mid tower is taking some pretty hefty damage.
Yeah, I think they would benefit the most, Arrow, if they waited for Centaur Stampede. He's still like level 5 3/4. 1 or 2 more creep waves, he's going to have the Stampede, and that's when things get pretty devastating as far as initiation goes. You can have the Razor moving around at maximum movement speed, which is just incredible. And, of course, you're also going to have the mech timing around that time, too. So, Mosin's just going to take a step back from the push game and make sure that he clears out the jungle efficiently. Well, yeah, as you were mentioning, Lance is just going to keep farming away. Looks like he's actually going to go for an armlet after his Midas, so not really worried about the mobility as long as he has the Stampede available, and hoping to close the distance that way. So it is going to mean that after that wears off that he might be susceptible to a little bit of kiting here and there, but it means that when he is on his target, he is just going to be right-clicking like a boss. He is going to be all over his targets, and they probably won't survive against like maybe 3 or 4 right-clicks against him.
Yeah, well, seems like we may have a long game on our hands here, Blaze. It's Midas gaming across the board. Yamate will pick one up on the Dro Ranger sitting on brown boots, and we'll see DDZ actually go for a hand of Midas here. Picks it up right around the 9-minute 30-second mark, but I'm a little surprised to see this mid-hero from Arrow. Opting straight for the Midas on the brown boots, this really neuters some of the early aggression potential of Razor. We see MTR take a Sunstrike in the mid, not enough to secure the kill, but he will survive with about 80 hit points to spare. I feel like this leaves Arrow a little bit vulnerable. The fact that Dro got a Midas extends this window where they can farm, but Razor in particular, he really needs to tank up, and Midas just doesn't do that for him.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that general assessment of how Razor builds up, but I think it's more awareness of DDZ's state of the game. Right now, he sees Titan as being a little bit delayed in their endeavors as well. They've taken 3 kills off of them. They know the Invoker hasn't been farming that well, and obviously they now see the Drow hand of Midas. So they can look at this and say, okay, we've got some time, and what can we actually do with that? Since we're only pushing outer tier 1s, we're not going to be really fully contesting 5-on-5 into the tier 2s. It might be better just to kind of play it slow. Lance loves to play it slow. He's one of the better farmers in the SEA scene. But DDZ, it's uncharacteristic, but I think it's a pretty aware decision to be focusing more on the stronger presence in the late game, getting more experience, and kind of skyrocketing towards level 16.
KYXY in big trouble. Disruption from MTR to start it off. The Soul Catcher, stun, double edge, and yeah, that's all she wrote for KYXY. A 4-hero rotation. And he will take a tumble, 4-3 as we pass the 11-minute mark, and Arrow look to turn up the aggression.
Yeah, and this is a great time for it. Tier 2s aren't going to be available for much longer if Sand King gets his blink, and we do actually see that that is coming out on the Courier. So this is their best opportunity to take this tower, because as soon as SK rotates around, it's going to get much more difficult.
Yeah, certainly right about that. Ohio's already TP'd in, ready to make a defense. He has his phase boots. He's found at least a baseline of farm through the off lane and has just been moving around the map, sitting level 7 with that maxed out power shot. So clearing creeps, not a problem for Ohio's Wind Ranger.
Mid lane.
And he will completely repel the push. Meanwhile, in mid, DDZ, he'll get hit by a Sunstrike. Even an Epicenter gets channeled, and they do secure the kill on the Razor. Stampede was burned to try and keep him alive, but just wasn't enough. Titan right there with the response, and they find some vengeance for their fallen KYXY. A much-needed kill on that DDZ Razor. Meanwhile, up top, Zhang Zai, yeah, NWP, slowing him with the Frost Arrows, but won't commit for a kill as the TP from Enigma flies in. And, oh, yeah, Mosin actually with a Haste Rune. Yeah, I think if he had the fourth point in Frost Arrows, he would have died for that. I'm not sure how it would have panned out with the timing of Mosin's TP, but the difference between rank 3 and rank 4 Frost Arrows is actually immense. 37% to 60%, and Stampede was on cooldown. I actually think that he probably could have gotten that kill, but obviously there might have been repercussions for that kind of action. So for now, passivity ensues across the board. I guess that favors the 2 Midas team over the 1 Midas team, but I think Titan are really looking to get all their ducks in a row here. 2 points of marksmanship. The familiars are kind of spreading their wings across the map and seeing what damage can be dealt elsewhere. So pretty soon they'll start grouping up and finding opportunities with the next Epicenter CD. Well, here's Midas number 4, and it's on KYXY. This one, I think, the least surprising of the lot. A very core item on the Exort Invoker. We've talked about it a lot. A hero that thrives on experience more than most. He sees the most benefit from those levels. Even once you get towards that stat point Invoker, just a different beast. So not only is the gold farm important, but really that experience edge you get from the Hand of Midas. And not surprised whatsoever. So now things will level out in terms of farming tools. Arrow holding on to about a 3,000 gold edge, and that's only from 1 tier 1 tower. So they are finding better farm around the map. Their Midas timings were slightly better, and they just found a little more out of that laning phase. Lifestealer holding a 900 gold lead over his counterpart, the position 1 Wind Ranger. Again, a lot of that from the Midas timing. But we'll see Arrow grouping up in the top lane. Tier 1 tower will fall, and this will be the second tier 1 tower lost on the side of Titan, but it appears they are ready to counter push with maybe a tier 1 tower kill in the mid lane if Arrow will let it happen.
Radiant's middle
Unfortunately, they
tower
did
is under
waste their fortify completely. There was nothing attacking towers at the time. This is a pretty crucial cooldown, as you see how quickly those familiars just destroy that tower, but now we see them going in.
Yep, net off to the side, getting drained, but meanwhile in the mid, Yamate getting clicked hard by Lance. He'll be the first to go down. Extinct takes a stun, brings down the Centaur before he falls, but it's still a 2-for-1 exchange as this tower goes down. Shadow Demon, oh, pardon me, I heard the Sunstrike, and I don't know why I said Shadow Demon, but I thought his life was in danger. That's where it'll end, a 1-for-2, and Arrow, they still find the better of it. Maybe they can get a tier 1 tower here in the mid and make it a 2-for-1 tower exchange as well.
Yeah, they easily can turn that around. Now, it was down bottom that Ohio was able to push out the wave with the activation of Drow's aura. The range creeps and siege creeps do a heck of a lot of damage, so that goes down quickly, but they're looking for 2. Arrow in the mid. They have Black Hole still available, but seem to be very afraid of that epicenter. They got a good exchange, they'll leave it at that, and I guess that's actually overall a victory for Titan because they get both of the towers.
Yeah, 2 towers for 2 towers. It's an even trade there, but Arrow did get a good bit of experience out of those hero kills, and that's the only difference here. We see the graph jumping into Arrow's favor, another 1,000 gold or so. Maybe it'll level out after all of the tower gold ends up here represented on the graph, but now Arrow ahead by about 1,200 experience, nothing too significant, still furthering their lead just a bit. And with that extra gold, Enigma will now pick up a Blink Dagger to go with that early mech, which, of course, extends his initiation range quite a bit, I think, needless to say.
I'm kind of worried the Titan isn't going for a mechanism right now. They have 2 heroes that could go for it pretty easily. The Visage is essentially halfway there if he does rush for it as his next big pickup. And the Wind Ranger, who's probably the one we see the most in these situations picking it up, is going to be going for a Force Staff of her own, just really reliant on the mobility. Does not want to get caught out of position. Maybe able to pull allies out of Black Hole. Things like that is very important. So I would have to say that I'm not too surprised that he's not going for the mechanism, but I think it's something they desperately need to stay in these clashes, because right now Enigma has the blink mech advantage, and he can not only choose where the fights happen, but resoundingly be victorious on them when it comes down to it.
Yeah, now Yamate is level 11, but whoa, speak of the devil, that's a solo Black Hole on the Dro Ranger. And, oh, pardon me, KYXY gets caught in it as well. I thought it was a 3-on-1. The color blindness ensues here, Blaze. An easy 2-for-0 as Lance, the surprise inside of Mosin, just cleans it up. The 2 cores of Titan completely destroyed.
Yeah, that Radiant Observer Ward earning its money there. He saw the perfect opportunity. They didn't know he had the blink yet, so revealing it in a flourish with a perfect Midnight Pulse Black Hole onto 2. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I guess Titan are just going to have to rally the troops down bottom, get some damage on the tower, but they're not going to be able to force it in full. Just current state of affairs. They don't even have any focus fire on the Wind Ranger right now, so they will be able to maneuver. They might be able to find a kill, but only if DDZ oversteps his bounds into the enemy sentry ward. But it looks like it's going to be the other way around. Extinct in a bad spot.
Yeah, DDZ will put on that static link, stealing a lot of damage, right-clicking down the Visage, secures that kill, finds a Courier as well with a Mithril Hammer on it for NWP. He won't be able to bring it down, but gets off 1 auto attack. MTR on the high ground will be there just in case someone else comes in, but it'll end as just a 1-for-0 trade. DDZ picks it up on the Visage, and now Centaur grabs his Blink Dagger. So Arrow grabbing even more initiation and counter initiation. Poor NWP. His life is just getting more and more difficult by the moment. So many gap closers. They can just jump on him, get rid of that marksmanship damage, and then Dro all of a sudden gets so much less scary. It appears he is going for a BKB Ogre Club in the inventory, but Yamate still struggling to really come online.
Yeah, and we were talking a lot early game about the Lifestealer's item progression, and it seems like it doesn't really matter too much because he's had so much farm in the first 18 minutes that he gets to go for everything that he could want. He gets the Midas, he gets the Armlet, and then he goes into Phase Drum anyway. So he has mobility, he has damage, he has late game sustainability, and he might even be finding something else with the Infest inside the Centaur right on the Drow Ranger. Yeah,
Zhang Zai pops the ultimate. There's just nothing Yamate can do. Razor will fall in another skirmish here in the mid lane as we're observing that. Wind Ranger gets credit for the kill with the help of Extinct, so it's a 1-for-1 across the map, but we were just talking about how Yamate is struggling to farm, and that kill will set him back even more.
Yeah, so now this is where Arrow gets to kind of close in space and just say, okay, this is our territory now. You can't farm here. Nat doesn't even get the blink off, and they're going to be able to Midnight Pulse him down so he can't escape.
Yep, no detection here, though. Zhang Zai blinks forward, looking for an opening, finds it on Ohio. Now MTR comes in. Soul Catcher after the disruption, but the Force Staff from Ohio. He jukes the Hoof Stomp. Net connects with the Burrow Strike. Can they clean it up? Wind Ranger goes down. Lifestealer has fallen off to the side from KYXY. So it is another pretty even exchange. A buyback from Ohio as Titan. They want to pay some dividends here, but Arrow have already made the retreat, and it looks like everyone will get away unscathed, and it'll be a wasted buyback from Ohio.
Yeah, that Drow Ranger pickoff was huge because they were able to just completely contest the enemy territory, and Titan didn't want to give it up. So unfortunately for them, they fight without full strength, and now they're even getting picked off in mid.
No, Ohio, that's a dieback. Not only was it a wasted buyback that he got nothing from, but he'll die right after. He'll be in the grave for 50 seconds, which is a pretty long duration for only 20 minutes into this game. Arrow will have a 4v4 on the board for now, and they press forward into this Tier 2 mid. A glyph is available for Titan, and they do have an epicenter, so perhaps they can make a hold. But Arrow will at least pressure this tower until Titan come to its defense. There is also a black hole available, so Arrow are pretty eager for a fight.
Yeah, but, I mean, if Net goes for his smoke opening, he still has the potential to do a lot of damage here. We'll see how much of it is negated by the mechanism and if they can turn it around. But for starters, I think Sand King will have the better opener, and Arrow will just have to have the appropriate response, Stampede mechanism, and see if they can get some kills. Deny comes out for the familiars. They do a hell of a lot of damage, even without the Drow Aura, if they have max stacks. And in this case, both of them did. Made it pretty easy pickings for them to deny it, since only one hero was actually hitting the tower. Finally, Drow farms up the BKB, does just buy out for it entirely, not reserving anything here. Really needed that item as quickly as possible, and now she has it, but she still is under a lot of magic immunity piercing threats. The lifesteal, of course, purely physical, and his damage output is just destroying her at this current point in time. And the Razor, all of his stuff goes right on through BKB, as well as the Black Hole and Demonic Purge. Like, the only thing the BK really nullifies is a couple of stuns like Malefice, as well as the Centaur War Runner. He's kind of taken off the board from her perspective, but even still, so many threats, and this is a very risky play.
Yeah, absolutely. Titan move into the Roche Pit. They bring him down very quickly with the Medallion, and the risk pays off. MTR gets caught by a Burrow Strike. Zhang Zai hops forward right onto Net. Where's the Black Hole? He's trying to land on a Black Hole on 4. KYXY, the only one not caught. He will interrupt it. They secure the kill on Shadow Demon, but they've already lost 2, and that'll be the Aegis as Dro pops the BKB. She won't have one coming back up, and NWP certain to fall for a second time. A 1 for 3 after Titan secure Roche. A disastrous team fight, and Arrow once again further their lead.
Yeah, even with all these Force Staffs the Titan have picked up, they just couldn't position that fight the way they needed to because they were fighting into a choke point. They were all trying to get into one small area to target one single threat. A poor Shadow Demon gets focused down and just obliterated, but it's definitely worth it for them. Half duration Black Hole is plenty of time for them to get all the damage they need to really counteract everything the Roshan got in positive. So Titan, they lose out the Aegis, they lose out an experience there overall, and yeah, now they are just looking for some way of backing out of this terrible situation.
Yeah, and that could have been even worse for Titan had that Black Hole caught KYXY as well. Really good positioning from him. He was the one that kind of prevented that from being a full team wipe, just back far enough. But a 4-hero hole, very nicely done by Mosin. And just in the right place at the right time. Blinked forward and, again, got that Midnight Pulse Black Hole off. Beautifully executed. And now, looking at the graphs, about a 7,500 gold lead and experience to boot right around that 7,500 mark as well. Item progression-wise, we'll see Lifestealer go, I think, for an SNY here. Has himself the Sanj, and yep, there you go. There's the Yasha sitting back at the base. Centaur working on the Force Staff, and DDZ has now picked up a BKB after his drums. So, magic immunity online for the Razor. Oh, speak of the devil, he'll get caught. Perfect time to have a BKB, but he won't even get a chance to use it. They'll have plenty of crowd controls, and they'll lock him down to death. KYXY gets credit for that one.
There's no doubt that Sanjin Yashin is an extremely strong item on the lifesteal. The only thing I don't like about the pickup at this point in time is it essentially fills up his 6th item slot. Like, you have to sell something from this point forward to progress your items, whether you sell the drums or the Midas, or maybe try to progress into BOTs very early. Is great, but I don't know, 23.5 minutes and being 6 slotted is a little awkward indeed. So maybe he's just going to kind of save for buyout, and they're just going to try to force it here now, try to go for the 25, 26-minute GG push.
Yep, and this is a smart idea, at least in the context of now Black Hole still on cooldown, 45 seconds. Titan are aware, at least generally, of the timing, and they will try to capitalize. They use the Dro Aura paired with the Familiars and secure a Tier 2 tower kill, their first of the game. And a little gold boost going Titan's way. A small victory, but a victory nonetheless. They still have a Tier 1 standing in the top lane, which could be their next target of choice as they make their retreat following that tower kill.
So if you look at the goal graph overall, we do see a pretty substantial advantage for Arrow here with the closing in on 7,500 and the same for the experience. So in this position here, this is probably their time to just be the most active and try to close out the game. The biggest thing for them would be a Sand King pickoff. Net did just hit level 11, and he has been using a lot of smoke initiation, now has his 4 staff. So Net is probably the biggest threat as far as team fights go in trying to turtle up and keep everything alive. If he got picked off, then that would be just completely the base broken wide open. But otherwise, they might just have to wait for the Aegis or make use of this BKB now picked up on Mosin. And Blink BKB initiation, you pretty much can't cancel that in any capacity. Like, you look at all of Titan's heroes, they're very magically oriented in their disables and in a lot of cases in their damage output. So right here and now, I would have to say that if there's another good black hole and the BKB is involved, that there's no way the Titan can fight.
Yeah, I like to think of this time for an Enigma as the trifecta of item progression. Blink, BKB, mech. What more could an Enigma ask for at 25 minutes into the game? You have all the tools to make that game-changing team fight happen with a huge 4 or 5-man black hole. And even if it's a 2-man black hole and they can't interrupt you, that can certainly be a game changer as well. So as you mentioned, Titan will have their work cut out for them, and with that, they will smoke up. I like that Titan are at least cognizant that they're up against the ropes here and need to make some plays happen to get back into this game. Maybe take some risks as they did with that Roche. And this smoke sort of falling in line with that logic. They're using Yamate as bait up here at this top tier 2, with the rest of the team smoked up in the jungle nearby. Arrow, they might actually fall for the bait here. They're smoked up as well. They come in. Centaur gets revealed. They know they're on the high ground. Net comes down. Connects with the Burrow Strike. The follow-up is there, but Yamate, he's off to the other side. He'll get picked off before this fight even really starts as well.
Wow.
Net can't secure the kill on the Centaur. Another huge black hole. Extinct in trouble. Down goes Net. Down goes Ohio. Oh, no. Titan get completely cleaned up. A 4-for-0 trade. KYXY, the only survivor. A very minor victory across a slew of negatives. Oh, no. Arrow looking to upset Titan in Game 1 of Starladder Season 10 here, Blaze.
Most definitely. That was incredible. They didn't even need the life steal for that. Lance pops out of the infest after everybody's there. He's like, hey, guys, what's going on? But
y'all
yeah,
got
they
crabs.
flipped down on the western flank. They saw their opening on Centaur. He was kind of the straggler, but unfortunately he's a 1,300 HP straggler, so a lot of health to chew through. He's able to get a stampede off no problem, and then Mosin with the quick-fingered mech, just barely in the radius. That was perfect coordination between him and Changzai, and they bait them into the perfect AoE combo. Mosin with that BKB, and then Changzai following it up after the fact. They pretty much just 2v5 Titan, but we do see an attempt. No, the rage comes through. Lance won't even be burrow struck. This is just a terrible, terrible position for Titan to be in.
Shackle, but mech, 4 staff is there. Centaur hops forward, initiates onto KYXY with the hoof stop. They'll turn it around, and that'll be Zhang Zai's death. Now they hop forward. Burrow strike out onto Lance. MTR there with an aggressive disruption. Can't create the space. Lifestealer falls. MTR gets interrupted on the TP out. And Arrow will be punished for hanging around too long. They find a tier 3 tower. Eidolon's doing some damage to the melee racks. Not enough to bring it down, and of course it will regenerate back up to full if Arrow don't commit to another push. So Arrow getting a little sloppy there, handing Titan some gold on a silver platter. I think a couple of streaks were ended there. I'm failing with the graph hotkeys, but actually not too bad on the streaks. Only a killing spree on the Lifestealer, but giving Titan a small sign of life after a failed team fight.
Yeah, and in that case, Centaur was the absolute best target to start on because you could prevent the stampede, which was the main tool of escape for Arrow. So they meant to disengage the whole time when they saw any real threat. Centaur was a moment too late on trying to force him to stampede away, and they were able to actually get 3 kills out of it. So very impressive. Down bottom, we're going to see some heavy push coming in from all these range creeps and Eidolons, but overall, it's just going to be kind of status quo until Roche respawns. It looks like Titan, on the back of that, might try to go for a play on a tower, but I don't know. It's really difficult to get in the right position to initiate, even with Blink Sand King.
Yeah, and DDZ unfortunately whiffs the deny here. So again, Titan get some extra gold that they probably shouldn't have had, all things equal, but they'll take what they can get. Net hiding in the trees. Epicenter at the ready. The trap has been set. Titan are ready to make it happen. Oh, they almost scout out Net. Zhang Zai gets very close. He'll have to blink further into the trees. He's getting sandwiched here. They're suspicious. They know Net too well. But he will TP home. Ooh, close call for the Sand King, and that'll be enough for Titan to back out.
Yeah, it's almost like he's playing games with them, sandstorming and then blinking away right when he sees any real danger. But now he's kind of down on the bottom lane, pushing things out, and that means he's not home to defend, and they know his TP's on CD. So Net immediately heading back the other direction after picking up a standard TP from the side shop. He's got to be here for the high ground, and Arrow's kind of racing him for it. They're saying, okay, Net's down there. Let's go, let's go, let's go. We do have everything up and available, but it's going to be about positioning this time around. Like, they have to get the Stampede off and then wait for Titan to cluster up, because even though we usually talk about the stairs as the choke point for the opposition, it is going to force Titan to go into a small circle that Mosin can take advantage of as well.
DDZ, the target of choice. Defensive disruption comes out after the shackles. Zhang Zai hops in, but the force staff from Wind Ranger prevents the hoof stomp from doing a hell of a lot. Midnight Pulse, Mosin, BKB on, Black Hole, totally whiffed. He cancels it. Oh no, he stutter-stepped it. That's unfortunate, but they still bring down the Dro. Instant buyback from NWP. DDZ gets caught on the retreat, and that'll be a dead Razor. So Arrow find a 1-for-1 trade. They force out the buyback, and they'll decide that's enough. They did the damage they wanted, at least to NWP's economy, and they'll reset things up a bit. But that Black Hole, that was a stutter step, I believe. He had the BKB on, and just a small play
he
from
canceled
Mosin.
immediately because he was going to try to hit the Drow Ranger plus 1 or 2 behind the Drow, and ended up hitting only the Drow, who was dead anyway. So he's like, okay, cancel this, try to move forward with something else, and it was just a complete waste. But they'll wait for it. The one thing they did get out of that in conjunction with the Drow buyback is all the familiars' lives. Right now, Visage is running Aghanim Scepter Medallion with a Drow Ranger with her Max Dora. That's a huge asset to Titan's potential to take down Roshan early, and just in general to deal a large amount of physical damage. But the Eye of the Storm claims their lives, and now that's a lot of gold going the way of Arrow, as well as a much-needed cooldown.
Yeah, about 100 seconds. Well, now down to 85 until the familiars come back. But Lance takes a silence from NWP. Midnight Pulse comes out. Stun on NWP. The Stampede, they force out the BKB, and he will TP home. So he's out of the fight now, and that will force Titan out of the Roche pit. That's what they had their sights set upon. But without NWP there, they will not force the issue.
I don't know, man. This is a really tough position with Drow Ranger kind of setting herself back with that buyback, and now using her BKB so many times. She's down to 6 seconds on her Black King bar. I mean, at that point, it's half the item you purchased in the first place. So I really don't know in this position how you bring that back, no matter what item you look towards. 2,000 gold is not really going to be that much to push you in the right direction when you're up against a wall. And right now we've got the Aghanim Scepter up on the Razor. He's got his BKB at 8 seconds. He's willing to just kind of jump in the front lines. And even Lance is now progressing in his items here. He's got the Heart Recipe coming out. Just needs that Vit booster on that Courier, and he'll Midas for it. So he did end up selling a TP scroll in his TP list, but they're not on the defensive in any capacity, and he's happy to do so.
Yeah, and uses that Hand of Midas once more. They secure the last outer tower. So already the Lifestealer is back up to about 400 gold. Now they'll even take the Dire Ancients as they make their retreat out. So furthering Lance's harm a little bit, getting him one step closer to buyback where he really wants to be. Titan, they know what's going on, and they are hungry for blood. They want some vengeance, and also, again, just recognizing that they're up against the ropes. All things equal, they'll just continue to get out farm, so they need some turnaround fights here. I think they see Roche as the nail in the coffin if they allow Arrow to secure it. So they will posture around the pit. They'll take the high ground, use their dire advantage, and make sure Arrow don't have an uncontested Roche. But Arrow don't even really seem interested in it. They seem more interested in Roche as kind of bait to get a good black hole, I think, more than anything. The Aegis, I don't think that'll be the make it for, or break it for Arrow at this point, honestly.
Yeah, the timing's just not perfect for them. Right now they're getting the black hole off in just 3 seconds, and if they can just farm up a little bit more, they can get a refresher orb on Enigma. I think he might have to even double soul ring to guarantee the 2 ultimates, as he did rank up his black hole to rank 3, which dramatically increases the mana cost. But here in mid, we're going to see some action.
Yes, indeed, Ohio. He will get the Soul Catcher. Centaur's right there with the follow-up damage, but the Visage just brings him down. Centaur's first to fall, but now Yamate getting clicked down by Lance. The BKB just doesn't matter. Lance will take a shackle, and the follow-up damage is there. Net with the Epicenter. Makes it a 2-for-1 exchange, at least for now. Now Net will have to pay with his life, so it is a 2-for-2. Lifestealer and Centaur in exchange for the Dro and the Sand King. They will lose one of the Visage Familiars as DDZ takes him down with the Lightning Storm. But Arrow, they may just press forward here and try and use this 3v3 to take a skirmish. They still have a black hole standing, and they could win this fight with only 3 heroes.
The Drow's not up for 60 full seconds. That means the Familiars aren't nearly as impactful. Like, you saw how amazing amounts of damage they could put out in the very early stages of it.
And he has no buyback. They know it, too.
Yeah, exactly, because he bought back at the fight up on the top lane. So It's like as soon as the drow is gone, not only does it obviously take the hard carry out of the fight, but it also eliminates that aura, which enhances the hero damage of 3, as well as, of course, the familiar damage, which is huge for a unit with 0.4 base attack time. So in this position, they can just regroup, rally the forces, and yeah, they can just continue to kind of go on the offensive. I think they actually could have forced the issue on the tower if they wanted to, but they don't need to take risks here. They're in a commanding position in this game. They now just got their refresher orb, and the only thing they have to worry about is these hex pickups on Titan.
Yeah, double Mystic Staff picked up on. That was a loaded courier there for a second. A Void Stone and 2 Mystic Stabs. But double Hex coming out at just about the exact same time. And even Yamate now getting a core item past the BKB. It's only a Manta style. Nothing too crazy, but still letting him tank up a little more. And at least has something to deal with all of this lockdown that Arrow are putting on top of him. And a little bit of extra damage output as well. Are the Hexes enough, though? The bigger problem seems to be positioning for Titan. I mean, there have been a lot of multi-hero black holes coming out from Moze in this game, and Hex or not, if you get caught inside the black hole, you're still pretty much doomed.
Yeah, they're going to come in, scout things out with the Eidolons. The Roshan's still the prime objective, even without cheese for both sides, and yeah, they're just kind of getting the lay of the land for it. The Hexes are pretty huge because of the potential to initiate with 4 staffs and just completely lock somebody down, but it's difficult to find that pickoff. And if you think about it, Enigma's always going to be on the back end of things. He has, what, 15 seconds of BKB if he refreshes it. It's just so difficult to actually find the initiation.
Ohio is the one they initiate upon. They have the surprise inside. Not enough for the kill. Lance even pops the rage for that. And that'll be the end of it. Stampede used. They can't secure a kill. And I think Arrow will just be a little more patient here. They ping out the familiars down bottom who are doing some split pushing. Visage staying nice and active around the map. And Arrow will be happy to clear out this creep wave, get a little bit of extra gold, maybe get some familiar kills, and just wait for these shorter cooldowns to come back up.
I'm curious to see what Yamate will build up, because you and I have had discussions on this in the past, but I don't really feel like Manta does anything for him in this position, so I really hope that he will be able to get some real items up very soon. Maybe a Butterfly to evade a little bit of the Nyx before he goes MKB, and I don't know, something to really put him back into this game offensively, because right now, Yamate has all purely defensive items. The BKB, the Manta style, they don't really give him anything as far as damage output goes, just minimal on that account.
Yeah, and I guess you're right. Manta this game, does it dispel anything? Or there's no silences, which is the
Malefice, maybe. I'd have to look that up. But
sorry, which one?
Malefice, Open Wounds, like those are the ones that are like strong dispels definitely dispel them, but I forget if the weak dispels do.
Yeah.
But
Open Wounds was the big one. That in my head I was thinking Manta does dispel, but now that I'm second guessing myself, I've lost all confidence, and I can't recall the exact interaction between that and Manta. So I guess we'll see in this upcoming team fight, as he's been the target of Open Wounds, I think, in every big fight we've seen so far. So I reckon we'll figure out the nature of that mechanic in a few moments to come. But, oh, Visage has now picked up a gem. So both sides have a gem. MTR picked one up a while ago on the Shadow Demon, and they have been pretty active about clearing the Dire wards. Right now, Dire have no wards down on the map, and that is mostly just the nature of Arrow moving around and utilizing that gem. Arrow do have a couple of wards down, one on the ground outside of the Dire Secret Shop, and one on the high ground here near the Roche Pit. So they do have a bit of vision, at least for now, and DDZ will now move into another defensive item with the Lincoln Sphere following his BKB. Oh.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty good against the Hex coming out. Oh, nice Shackle coming through onto an Eggs, but they just immediately Lincolns him up. He's happy to go on the front lines, even with the Melting Strikes. He's just like, come at me, little forward spirits, no problem at all. And he knows that without Yamate, they can't fully commit. The Aura helps at global range, but it's not going to be enough for them to go 4v5.
Yeah, and look at this. Arrow will just push right up the mid lane. Off to the side, we do have Net again lining up for a big epicenter. Maybe he can make it happen. Lance will get a defensive disruption as the meatball flies through. Glyph is up, and I think all the buybacks are refreshed. Yeah, they sure are. It's just a matter of resources. Now Ohio, target of choice, will get off the Wind Run to get things started, and the Glyph gets popped as well. Even Mozen follows up. They'll bring down the Wind Ranger to start off the fight. KYXY makes it back to the tier 4s. Net is just too far off to the side. Can't find the initiation he's looking for, and this tier 3 tower taking heavy, heavy damage. DDZ with the ultimate pop, just bringing it down. Again, Net now going to the high ground, looking for the opening, still can't find it. Now he pops forward with a Burrow Strike. NWP's already used his BKB. The black hole, it's a total whiff. I can feel the breeze all the way from America. NWP will survive, but the Rax could be a different story. throws out a silence. Lance just clicking down the melees. And Arrow will retreat. So no hero kills, but at least they get the tier 3 tower. Does go the way of Arrow, I guess you could make a case for. And they force out another Dro BKB.
But Lance is still in this. He's got that heart, so he can just stay on the front line the whole time here. Nullify a Cold Snap with the Lincolns provided by Razor. The melee Rex will go down. They're going to chomp on the range one. It looks like that's taken care of too. They were forced to retreat with the Shadow Demon. He was forced to kind of TP back when Drow was going for that rat play, but she just BKB TP'd forward on the front lines and had to retreat herself as she didn't have anything available. Now Net tries to keep the Rex alive. They do get the Hex on the Lifestealer, and here you go.
But the defensive disruption, there's the refresher. Mosin with a black hole onto Extinct and NWP. Both of them will fall. Instant buyback from the Dro. She'll get back into this fight. Ohio with the ultimate. A nice shackle onto DDZ and Zhang Zai. It's enough for a kill onto DDZ. But the team fight could still be lost for Titan. Lots of damage coming out. They'll lose the Centaur and the Shadow Demon. It's Titan with the buybacks and the turn. Doesn't matter, though. They've lost 2 lanes of racks, and even though Arrow get nearly completely wiped, they got what they came for, and Titan 1 lane of racks away from getting Megad.
Yeah, and I can't even really call that a successful defense. Yes, they repelled the opposition from their base, but they lost so much. 4 racks here. They expended so much in buybacks, 3 different ones on the most important heroes, really. They only have Wind Ranger and Sand King buybacks left, and they need this Roche. If nothing else, they absolutely need this Roshan, because otherwise Arrow just pretty much automatically win the game. I mean, you saw how impactful that second black hole turned out to be. You can even have some room for error and whiff one because of how great a single one could be if you do connect with it. So refreshing it up, Enigma MVP, easy.
Yep, absolutely. Roshan will fall again very quickly. The medallion plus the aura and the visage familiars just make Roche so easy for Titan, capitalizing on that dire advantage. Aegis will go to NWP, and now Titan will press forward towards the mid lane. The Courier holding a gem, and now a Crystallis for Yamate. So Dro coming online a little more now, at least starting to hit a little harder, but oof. This is rough for Titan. This could be the last push of the game. They're kind of all in, one last stand as they take out a tier 2, and they continue forward. And where's the opening? MTR does take a defensive disruption onto himself. Titan on the retreat, but there's the hoof stomp. Stampede used. Zhang Zai takes a Hex, but they've already found the initiation they were looking for. Invoker falls to a double edge. DDZ, Eye of the Storm, and BKB pop. The BKB expires, but he presses forward. Yamate holds the high ground, laying into frost attacks, but DDZ's just too damn tanky. I don't know if he can bring him down. Net's there with the stump, but the defensive disruption to interrupt it. Zhang Zai whiffs the hoof stomp, but they secure the kill on Net, and Titan lose 2 as they try to retreat. That's where the team fight will end for now, and again, Arrow repel with great success.
Yeah, quite an impressive display of coordination, team fight prominence from Arrow. I mean, obviously they took the early game, which was one thing that you don't generally expect against a Drow versus Sand King tri-lane, but yeah, they made things work for them. It really came down to that level 1 clash and then getting the 2-for-1 and the first blood. That gave them the solo win 1v1 against the Invoker. Razor pretty much didn't break a sweat in the laning phase, and then from there, of course, they were extremely dominant down on that bottom lane, finding picks on Wind Ranger and taking full use of that jungle. So just wasn't enough time to bring it back. Now we see them going in for potentially the killing blow here. Drow Ranger has to hold.
Black hole up in 5 seconds. Refresher's already there, but Ohio and NWP get caught. Way too much damage coming out. That procs the Aegis. Down goes the Wind Ranger. They've lost their Shadow Demon, but doesn't matter. Black hole number 1, Extinct and Net both caught inside, and they will fall. NWP desperately trying to make it back to the well. He'll even pop the BKB. The body blocks are there. The fuck you black hole at the end. Solo Dro Ranger falls. GG, well played, and Arrow Gaming will upset Titan in our very first match of Starladder Season 10. SEA. Wow, what a game to get things started, Blaze. If you weren't awake for that, I am certainly awake now. Holy Toledo.
Most definitely. That was very impressive. I love the action from the Enigma, but can't count out Zhang Zai's contribution. His Centaur Warrunner is as on point as it was when the hero was the flavor of the month. I mean, he loves that hero. He kind of transitioned to the offlane role right when the hero was in his prime, and we got to see some amazing initiations, and kind of backing off and then reinitiating is kind of his style. So we've seen that a couple times this game, and I'm always impressed by how much damage he can really deal with his major combo there. So great play across the board by Arrow. Farming well on Lance, making things happen between Zhang Zai and Mosin, and I really have high hopes for them throughout this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And oh, I forgot to hide my in-game overlays. Oh, pardon me, folks. It's going to take a little while to get used to the the Starladder overlay system, but wow, what a game. That Enigma, just beautifully executed. Mosin actually went that entire 42-minute match without conceding a single death, ending 4-0-20. The 420 dream, I suppose you could say, for Mosin, a reality here. As you mentioned, towards the end of that game, Arrow started off on the right foot with a 2-for-1 trade early on, securing the first blood, and they just never let go of the momentum, and that greedy draft paid off. We'll have a short break here, guys, and we have 2 more matches coming your way today. Up next is Myth versus Invasion, and that is scheduled to start in just about 5 minutes or so. So Blaze and I will have a quick break, and then we'll be on our way back again. I'm Zyori. Blaze is joining me remotely. Thanks for joining us for the opening day of Starladder Season 10.